Kangaroos have always fully embraced Indigenous round, this year no exception. Tonight at Collingwood's Cromwell Gallery, the 2017 Indigenous jumper has been unveiled and presented to the players. It's called Tribal.
Oh, look, who was holding that?
They didn't do it properly?
No, they did it very, very well.
Oh, okay.
I'll get some tips off them.
Still sound. The North Melbourne coach, Brad Scott, is joining us. Brad, welcome.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks, Robbo.
It looks like a lovely jumper and a nice ceremony that you've gone through tonight.
Yeah, it is. It's a fantastic jumper, and as you mentioned, it's called Tribal and designed by Sarita King in collaboration with our Indigenous players, mainly led by Lindsay Thomas, Jed Anderson. Jai Simpkin and Paul Ahern are also here tonight to celebrate. So North Melbourne's got a really rich tradition and particularly a rich Indigenous tradition. So it's a really proud night for everyone tonight.
Congratulations, Brad. I'm sure it's a good night. I want to congratulate all the footy world on your performance on the weekend. We just had Jordan Lewis sitting next to us and says people are underestimating the North Melbourne as being one of the best pressure teams in the competition. Is that the one aspect this year, as well as playing kids, but is that the one aspect that you've been really proud of?
I think it's one of them, Robbo. I think the players have really bought into what we're trying to coach and the way we're trying to play. And I mean, clearly we had some well-documented changes and, you know, we've got a new-looking team, but I think the team are starting to forge an image of their own, and there are a lot of things that they hold dear, and pressure's certainly one of those. And we often talk that it doesn't take talent to pressure, and our players certainly value it.
It's interesting, you know, last year the hysterical reaction to moving on to those players. I mean, that must be so far removed from your thinking now, because you've got these bunch of kids, and I can list them all, you know, Turner, McDonald's going in, Ben Brown's playing really well, Taylor Gardner's going really well. Can you honestly say that you thought that they would be able to produce this at this stage of the year?
Oh, I think there's always a bit of the unknown with change, but you know, we've certainly known the character of players that we've got or that we've had underneath coming through, and you know, we see them on the training track all the time. So, you know, we're not overly surprised with the level of output that they're producing, but you know, I think that as a team, you know, our consistency's been the pleasing thing, and you know, we've had some well-documented close losses, but you know, I think the important thing is we've learnt from those losses, and it was really pleasing to get the response after Melbourne challenged us on the weekend. It
does feel, Brad, like there's a sense of comfort in you know where you are and you know where you're going. Would that be reflective inside?
Yeah, no doubt, Jared. We were very clear on our strategy internally at the end of the year, and you know, with change comes a lot of disappointment because we live in a really passionate world, and you know, players love their club, and clubs, you know, love their players, and the supporters love their players. So, you know, when there's change, there's inevitably some disappointment, but very quickly, while we recognise our past players, we look to the future, and you know, internally we've been really strong on the direction we need to take, and I've been just absolutely wrapped with the buy-in we've had from our players and from the club as a whole.
You're playing aggressive footy, Brad, and it's quite apparent you're being very aggressive off-field talking to players, and you've been linked to Martin and you've been linked to Kelly. Can I ask you, how big of a role do you play in that? When you sit down with the match committee, do you drive that, or does the list manager drives that? Who says, right, let's go and offer as much as we can to Dustin Martin?
Oh, it's driven mostly by list management, but clearly I'm a part of that. You know, we look at always looking to improve, and you know, we've been very clear on our strategy going forward, and we identify a lot of players that may help us, and we identify where we want to position ourselves in the draft. And you know, we made no secret that we want to be really aggressive and bold in our approach to our list management. And I think for any North Melbourne supporter, that's got to be really pleasing and really encouraging, because while it's fantastic to see the young players out there performing at the moment, I think it's equally exciting as to the position the club's in to acquire some potential talent from other clubs.
Clubs don't offer this sort of money in this sort of years. Would you be prepared to tell us, Brad, what sort of percentage chances do you think you are of landing Dustin Martin?
Oh, well, it's a complete hypothetical. I mean, I understand the speculation, I understand the interest in it, but I think it's a little unsavoury for us to be talking directly about players who are contracted to other clubs right at the moment. We can't control the speculation out in the media, but again, we respect and understand the interest in it, but I'm not going to provide a running commentary on players who are currently contracted to other clubs.
Do you think the AFL's made the right move, Brad, in the crackdown on punching from here on?
Yeah, I think they did. And I think they also made a very courageous move not to fall in 1 week to the next. And clearly there have been a few incidents earlier in the year that were left relatively unpunished, certainly in terms of missing games of football. And it would have been disappointing if they'd turned around and reacted on the weekend. But I think they've made themselves extremely clear right now. And that's all any club or any player can ask, that forewarned is forearmed. And if players transgress from this point on, then they know exactly where they stand.
All right, thanks for joining us, Brad, and the very best of luck against Carlton on the weekend.
Appreciate it, Jared. Thanks, Robbo.
Thanks, mate.
Brad Scott with us after North Melbourne has unveiled and presented its indigenous guernsey for the weekend, and Sarita King again has done a beautiful job with that.